السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My name is Abdulaziz Al Sheikh. I'm a senior computer science student, and today I'm going to give an overview of the final product, the issue tracking system. So at first we'll talk about what is it, then we'll talk about the objectives, then the requirements and design and architecture, implementation, and finally we'll conclude. So the introduction is the issue tracker software system addresses the management of tracking bugs and feature requests in software development projects. It mainly focuses on enhancing effective and efficient collaboration among the project teams. And unlike other project management tools such as Git, Jira, Asana, the issues tracker system is solely dedicated to recording all issues and bugs. And this enables immediate and swift communication among everyone involved in the project and keeping them up to date with all actions relevant to it. And now we'll talk about the objectives of the product. The first objective is to provide a platform for users to share their issues with their team. The second objective is to maintain a full history of all issues encountered in a specific project. The third objective is to ensure that all users are aware of all issues that are occurring at any moment and ensure that they are solved instantaneously. And the final objective is to allow users to know the priority of a given issue and act accordingly. We'll now talk about the requirements of the product. The functional requirements, we have a set of functional requirements. The first one is the system shall allow admins to create projects. The second is to allow admins to delete projects. The third is to allow admins to update project details. The fourth is to allow admins to delete issues related to a project. The fifth is to allow users to create accounts. And the seventh is to upload issues related to a project. And the eighth is to allow users to upload attachments when resolving or uploading issues. The ninth is to ask users to provide their credentials for registration. And the final functional requirement is to allow users to view all the projects. As of the non-functional requirements, we have some set of non-functional requirements related to the availability. We have that the system's availability shall be 5 nines or 99.999%. We have a set of non-functional requirements related to the security. The first is the system shall not allow users to see each other's private information. The system shall validate user credentials before login. The system shall hash the passwords of users before inserting them into the database. The system shall communicate with clients using HTTPS protocol. The system shall perform input validation. Then we'll talk about the non-functional requirements related to the performance. The first is the system shall not perform operations with exponential time complexity. And the second is that the response time for uploading or resolving an issue shall be within 5 seconds. Finally, we'll talk about the non-functional requirements related to the portability. The first is the system shall run on any modern web browser. And the second is that the system shall be platform independent. We'll now talk about the design and architecture of the system. Here we have the use case diagram. Here we have the class diagram. And here we have the database schema. And here we have the architecture of the system. So the issue tracking system uses the model view controller architecture. Model view controller is a software architecture pattern commonly used for developing UI that divide the related program logic into three interconnected elements. This is done to separate internal representations of information from the ways information is presented to and accepted from the user. So in this diagram, we here have the browser of the client. The client can issue requests to the system. The request has to go to the controller. Based on the request, the controller will delegate the request to the right entity. So it goes here, and through these entities or resources, the request response is retrieved from the database. Once the response has been retrieved, it goes to the view, and through the view, the page is rendered to the user. And this cycle goes on and on in every request. We'll now talk about the implementation of the system. Here we have the application stack. These are the technologies used beside others in the system. First of all, we have the IntelliJ IDE. It is provided by the JetBrains company. And here we have the technologies used in the application. We have Spring Boot, which is an extension of Spring Framework, a Java framework. We have TimeLeaf, which is a template engine for Java. We have Spring Security. It provides a set of functionalities that ensure the security of the system. And finally, we have MySQL, which is a database management system for applications. Now we'll talk about the hosting platforms for the system. We have Git, which is a version control system that runs on a machine locally. And we have GitHub, which is a web service which takes Git repositories and hosts or store them in the cloud. Now we'll talk about the testing tools. So the application has been tested through JUnit, which is a unit testing framework for Java programming language. It has been utilized in the system to perform unit and integration tests. Here we look at the test results of the unit and integration test. This report has been generated by IntelliJ, which is the IDE used. And we can see that this package, which is the servers package, has been fully tested. And as we can see here, we have been tested all the methods in the classes under this package. So we have the issue service implementation class. It has been fully tested. The project service implementation, resolved issue service implementation, and the user service implementation. They were all tested, and we can see that these methods have been fully tested. We'll talk now about the conclusion. So my final words is that the issue tracking system turned out to be one of the most profitable investments in my university journey. Furthermore, following appropriate software architecture techniques was a lesson that I'll never forget and must be taken into consideration whenever I'm working on a system that is intended to progressively scale. Thank you for listening. And now we are at the application landing page. We can see here that this is an introduction about what does the application provide. And above we can see that the application server is listening at port 8443. And this was discussed in the non-functional requirements. One more thing here to note is that the browser of the client, I'm the client now, doesn't trust this application because its certificate is not valid, and the reason is basically because I provided the certificate and the browser doesn't trust it. However, any communication between the client and the application server is encrypted. So now let me try to log in. The admin is by default registered, so let me try to log in as the admin. I can see now that these tabs have appeared because I'm logged in. I can go to the list of projects. I can see that there is no project yet, but because I'm the admin, I can create a new project. So let me create a new one. So let's say the project is A, and we can give some description. So let us say building a web app for client A. Now we can see that the project have been created. I can edit it, so I can update the name. So let me update it to AA, and I can also update the description. So we can see that it has been updated. I can also create another project. So let us say BB, and here building a web app for client B. So we can see that has been added. And finally, let us create a third project. So now we can see that these projects have been added, and any user who's registered on this system can see these projects. So let me log out and register as a normal user. I can provide my email and password. Because I have been successfully registered, I'm getting the feedback from the system. I can now log in. And if I go to the set of projects, I can see that these projects have been added by the admin. But because I'm a normal user, I can't add a new one, nor update or delete a project. So if I go to this project, AA, I can see that there are no issues related to this project. But let's assume that I'm a developer and I work developing this, let's say, web app for this client. I can create a new issue which I, let's say, faced. So I can give a description. So let's say my problem is that I'm facing a problem with connecting to the database. So I can say that I am facing a problem with connection to the database. I can give it a priority. So let's say that it is high. I can also upload a file, basically the code that I tried to using the code I tried to connect to the database. So let us say that this is the file that contains the code. I can save the issue. I can see that now the issue appears to anyone participating in this project. So it is created by me. This is the attachment. This is the description of the issue. It's new, the status is new, the priority is high, which was set by me, and here there is the action. So now if we go and register as a new user, so I can come here, let's say that this is my name, and now so let's say that this is the email. So now I have been successfully registered as Faisal. I can log in. I can provide the password. I can go to the projects. I can see the set of projects. And now if I go to this project, I can see that Abdulaziz is facing an issue. and he's describing it, and he also attached a file, so I can download it as Faisal. I can look at the file, I can see the problem. Let's say that maybe the problem is here, so I can, let's say, comment out this code. Now I can save it. I can resolve his issue, and I can attach a file as a feedback. So let us say that this is the feedback code. So now we can see that this issue has been resolved, and it is no longer has a status new. So now we can go back and look at the other projects. So let's say Faisal is facing a new issue. He can also describe it. So let's say that he's facing an issue with configuring the website security. Let's say that the priority is medium. He can pass a file. So let us say that this is the file, and now we can save it, and we can see that this issue has been created by Faisal, and this is the attachment, and here is the description of the issue. And now if I log out and log in as the admin, I can basically delete an issue. So let's say that because this has been resolved, I have the ability to delete it, so I can delete this issue, and it is no longer visible. Also, I can come here. This issue is new, created by Faisal. Let's say that the admin feels that this issue is not applicable in this project. He can come here and delete it. Furthermore, the admin can delete projects. So let's say that this project has been done. He can come here and delete this project. And so basically those were the main functionalities of the system. And that's it. Thank you for your listening.